Okay, so we've got it. So welcome to our very first, one of many that we're going to have every Tuesday morning, APLGO Team Visionaries Workshop. And we've changed this day because every morning on Tuesday is when we have our regular corporate director, and every other Tuesday we have our mastermind calls. And the other leaders are doing theirs all before this, so we can get our team's opinions, concerns, whatever they want to bring up for us to take to the corporate director call. And this only makes sense that we do this before the call instead of the day after, right? So, this morning we have anybody can voice their opinion on here. It's going to be a safe place to talk, and we bring things to the corporate director call. It starts there. Well, actually, it starts here, and we move it on up the line. So anyway, also let it be known that you can always text, message me privately, or email me, and we get information to the corporate directors every Tuesday. And you guys, we have so many things going on right now. In fact, so many that one of those concerns has been there's too many promos going on. We can't keep one for the other, right? I'm right in there too. So I try to keep up with them as quickly as I can. They stop and start so rapidly, but there's a reason that we're doing that. They're all actually pretty similar, and they all help you either rank up to build your team or help you get product in your arsenal so that you can share these out to people. Either way, they're all really good. And we want to be able to share those with you right after we have our corporate director calls on Tuesday, and like I said, our mastermind every other Tuesday. But anyway, today we have a guest speaker. I got to tell you, first of all, having Big Al, my really good friend for seems like 100 years now, talk to us on Sunday and give us all those great ways that we can speak with people and bring conversations up. Now we have Randy Kiefer, who, by the way, lives in Anchorage, Alaska. Great family man. He is a manager out at TSA out at the Anchorage Airport. I mean, what a handful that has to be. But guess what he does? He trains his team there. And he's got something really special he wants to share with all of us. So Randy is also in fact, he's one of my team members I brought on the very first week I started this. He's been with us for about 4 years. He's a diamond executive here and growing his team. And we're just really happy to have you here, Randy. Go ahead and show us what you have today.
Hi, Sherry. Good morning. Good morning, whoever's out there visiting with us this morning. I appreciate you for bringing me on this morning, Sherry. This is always a fun subject to talk about. And when we're team building and trying to find each other's different personalities, and sometimes we trip over our personalities. Sometimes it gets in our brains in the way of what we want to say, and we don't know how to say it. So that has a lot to do with the different personality traits each person has. So that's what I'm going to speak about real quick this morning. I'm going to screen share real quick, Sherry. Let's see here if I can get this thing to work nice with me this morning.
Yeah, and your internet might be a little slow because you're buffering. But I guess turning off your camera and turning on the screen share would help. So here we go. Let's do this.
Yep, it will. So this is all about what's called DISC, and we use this to train a lot of our personnel. But it's also useful for training for business because people need to know how to talk to different people of different personalities. And we find that, say, for like what you see here, it says dominance, which is the D on this scale. A lot of times this is a person that is a very direct, blunt, forward type of person. And if you talk to, like, say, an influence, the I, This type of person is your socialite, your chatty, chatty person that sort of flutters around and wants to talk to everybody, as the life of the party. But when you put the dominant or the direct person trying to talk to the influencer or the influence person, then this person may just not get it. They need to have it, talk to a little differently, or you need to meet them halfway. Which in the when you take the personality test, I believe I included that link. Is that link still available for people there, Sherry, in the chat?
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do for people that came in later? I'm going to go ahead and pop it in there again because people that pop in don't see it the first time. Got it. There we go. Yep, it's in there now.
So with that particular one, that's basically it's an influence person who, those type of people, if you can really, I wouldn't say wrangle, but wrangle is a good word, get them into your business, then what happens is that if you can show them how to speak, say, to a person of the dominant personality type, then those are the wonderful people to have within your business. Now we need all types of people in our business and stuff. We need also, there's one right below, it says steadiness. That's bees.
Oh,
Those are the ones
we
who
lost you
want to
there for
know all the
just a second.
details.
Randy, we lost you there just for a second when you started talking about the S.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes.
You're able to hear me, Sherry? Okay. So the S is like I was saying here, your S is like your honeybees. It's ones that are constantly busy, but they also want to know the details. Those are in like Big L, which I love them. That would be your green personality, which that's me. I'm a green personality. Um, and those are the ones that want to know the details, might want to know how things operate. I have to know all the ingredients and everything. Um, and those are also wonderful to have. Let's see here. There's another one called conscientiousness. That's the C. That's on the next slide, but I can't quite get to it right now. The C for conscientiousness is uh, it's like your honeybee on steroids. Don't touch my stuff. Don't ever get into my stuff or get into my business. Don't bother me almost. But
You know what,
that
Randy?
is,
Tell us a little bit more about that C because we can't see it on here except in the box up there, but tell us more about that C.
yeah, that C is where that's where a lot of people fall into the S and the C categories. There's quite a few, more than surprisingly than what you may imagine. Um, just a second, I'm on the move again. Sorry. Um, so that C is that's one that we want to get to where we're going to probably have to work a lot with because they're sort of wrapped up within themselves. And we have the hardest time doing a lot of training and stuff with them because we got to get, past certain personality traits, or I wouldn't call it flaws, but that they have the hardest time relating to other people. So that's where we find the most issues with people when I'm training them, is in that
Would you,
category.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to keep asking you a question because this is really awesome. So, would you say that a C is more like an introvert?
Yes, he is extremely introverted.
Okay, and then we have some of those people that are introverted introverts. I mean, really, they don't even want to leave their house. And those
No,
are
now
the ones that we
even an S is an introvert, just not
really
as bad as the C. The C is the hardest one of all the introvert, sort of the hardcore introverts,
okay.
and that would be your C. Um, let's see here. Anyway, so a lot of times when we're, like a D, a very direct person, and a C, they tend to maybe even relate a little bit better to each other than, say a D and an I. An I and a the steadiness for the S. An I and an S sometimes have difficulties communicating, but not as bad as I think the worst ones for when it comes to communicating sometimes is the D and the I, because they have a really hard time relating to each other. So you have to learn how to meet each other in the middle, sort of collaborate, learn each other's different traits, and you know, for lack of a better word, what makes each other tick. Um, and that's all what DISC is designed to do. So when you take that personality test, it lets you know where you're at, but it also helps with learning how to relate to that other person. There is another DISC personality test that you can take that also gets into the characteristics and different values. And that one's a really excellent test too. I just dropped the basic link in there for the basic personality test, which will let you know where you're at. Now, here's the other kick with when people are under stress or they're nervous, they are different than when they're in their natural environment or in their element. So that tends to be different too for them.
And we find
And
a lot here in our industry. So this is going to be very helpful if people go in and take that test on their own. Go
yeah, it's
ahead.
free.
This is great.
Go take it and they'll email it back to your results to you and let you know where you're at. And then once you know where the other person's at too, like if you got some of the leaders within your group that take it, you know where and how to work with them better.
This is
Uh,
fantastic.
I mean, is there any other questions and stuff I could answer for the group, Sherry, or can you think of anything else that I could relay for y'all?
Well, we do have a few people on here. If anybody has a question, you can either unmute yourselves, that's easy to do here, or you can put it in the chat and we'll go ahead and ask Randy. This is very valuable information because we all want to know how to talk to people. I got to tell you, Randy, and I've told you this probably several times, I am so direct sometimes that it hurts people's feelings. I'm just
Right. And sometimes people need to have things a little sugar coated or handheld.
Yeah, and I've learned, I learned the personalities, yet red, yellow, green, blue from Big Al, but when I heard about this disc, probably, I don't know, it was a long time ago, and it actually defines it a little bit better for you individually. So I'm glad you have a link up there that we can go in and take our own test, and I'll share that with the team. It'll be real interesting what people find out about themselves that they
And I believe
probably
that color
already
coding is
know.
very similar to Big Al's too.
Yes. Yeah.
I have
This might help people further their whatever it is they want to do with this business, whether it's building it or maybe even just talking to customers. Beth, you had a question.
Yes. So I'm curious about the changing from one to another because, I mean, sometimes I feel like a chameleon. It was like I can be that C and then I can be an I when I'm out in public. And of course, being a mom, I'm D. It's like different situations create my different personality.
True
Does
fact.
this test help us with determining that kind of thing?
It will determine, let you know where you sit at, but it also give you where you're at in a natural state versus under stress or a more direct state. Because like say when I'm at work, I'm different from when I'm at home.
Yeah.
And so yes, you'll be able to learn stuff. There's another personality test you can probably Google it. It's a Kersey Myers test, and that one actually for determining that type of state actually is a little bit more in depth.
Cool.
This is very helpful,
Thank,
Randy. I don't know. Do people want to go into depth and find out how deep their personality is? Is it gonna hinder them? Is it gonna
Uh,
help? Is it gonna hinder?
I would say it would help if you knew how you work, because sometimes people really don't know how they think they're the other. They might say they might think that they're a influence when really they're very much blunt and direct. Forward is another way of putting it.
Well, anybody have any other questions? Randy, I greatly appreciate you being on here and answering these questions for us because everybody works with people every single day.
Well, when I'm training hundreds and then I'm training supervisors how to better relate to their direct reports, their employees, they have to know how each person is, and they just can't be direct and forward. They have to sometimes go into a little bit more detail. They want to know the why. They know, they want to have other questions answered versus, a direct person can take direct orders. Sometimes the busy bees want to know every little detail down to the bottom of it, why they should be doing it.
You just answered my question. I was going to ask you, how do you implement this in such a huge arena that you're in at the airport? And you just did it. So, any other tips you could give
yes,
us on how we can work with small groups or our neighbor or just go in and take the test or
It
because
sounds like
me,
another
I'm pretty
class.
sorry, what?
Sounds like a next training.
Ah, there we go. Oh, you're spot on.
yes, yes, because I had another question about that, but I think that would go into another training as to, all right, so I know who I am and how I operate and how I could maybe change how I operate, but how do I operate? Which one do I choose to use in order to work with someone else? Like a dominance one, if I want to explain stuff to people, how do I deal with somebody who wants me to just tell them, go buy this? You need it.
Some like an S and a C, they want to know the details. What makes it tick? Why should I be buying it from you? Why should I get involved in this business? What's in it for me? Versus a socialites, they're just for maybe the community.
Yes. So how do you
That would
deal
be
with
your eye.
a dominant?
The dominant one is those are um, dominant ones are great business builders. If you can help bring those others that are I, S, and C up to the middle of the dominance, that's what our goal would be. Because that's also where you're going to get your big business builders.
Another thing I have
Then
found about
another training.
well, no, actually, this is really good, Beth. Another thing I found out about dominant people is when you give them a task to do within your beginning community, it gets them involved, and that's where they want to be most of the time. Do you find that the way it is, Randy?
Yeah. A lot of times we have like with the S, though actually the worst ones I have a hard time I wouldn't say working with, but training is the C,
Yes.
because they they want to know the why, they want to know every last detail down to the minute fine detail, and before they get going, you have to establish that. Now, all you have to do is establish rapport.
That's good to know because we already know there's a lot of people in this particular business that we hear it all the time. You don't need to know everything. But those words seem to go in one ear and right out the other to a C, correct?
Correct. Yep,
Yeah,
because they want to know. And until they do know, they don't feel comfortable doing nothing else.
exactly. You just said it right there. Until they know what they need to know, they don't feel comfortable sharing it with anybody else. And that's just their personality. That's It's a given. And how do we work with that? Can you answer that?
How do we work with that?
Yeah.
Well, it comes with training and finding out what the other person's personality is.
And then
We
work
can
with
uh,
that.
we can assume, you know, or what their color coding is with even with Big L. We can always assume, but giving them the link and stuff and having them take the test and stuff,
Boy, wouldn't that be great to have the whole team take this and maybe they think they're at this certain, DISC. I mean, DI,
right.
yes. Yeah. And they find
Now,
out someplace completely different.
now some of this also stems back to how we qualify people.
Ah, now you're talking.
Now again, this is another training, but it's asking those particular open-ended questions.
Okay. So it sounds to me like we've got like 3 weeks of training in a row. Well, Randy, do you have any more? Because I want to keep this down to a minimum so people will actually watch the replay and get through it. Do you have anything else you want to put into this in the next couple minutes?
Well, I would say the homework is for starters is to take the test. Once
Okay.
we get the once we get the test taken, you know exactly where you're at, and we can start discussing on how to relate to the other colors or the other DSRI or DISC and goals and stuff, and then how to establish the different criteria and stuff that each might need.
That's a great beginning. So here's what I want to do from here is Randy, I thank you so much for doing this. I know you have your hands full out at the Anchorage, Alaska airport, and you're like the top-notch guy there to be doing this. And I'm really grateful that you came on here for this training. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording on this and start the recording again so we can discuss other things. I just wanted this a separate training. Would that be okay with you?
Sure.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Randy Kiefer, you're a superstar today. You're a superstar every day. Hold on just a second here and let me